everyone, this is Allison, and this is Kicking Cancer to the Curb. I am here with Philippa, and she is currently going through treatment. Will you please share your cancer story with us?
Hi, Allison. I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer in October of 2010, which is almost 4 years ago. When I was diagnosed, it was discovered that cancer had spread to my liver. And so at the time, my doctors were very nervous about my prognosis, how I would go from that point. And I've had a lot of treatment. I've made a lot of treatment decisions myself, which has driven the direction of my treatment.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah, sure. I went through the conventional treatment, radiation, chemo, and surgery for my primary cancer, and then afterwards I had more chemo, and then I had another surgery to try to remove the cancer that had spread to my liver. Unfortunately, that surgery was not complete, and I had to make a decision myself. I decided to approach some other doctors for a second opinion, and that was a fairly unusual move on my part. And I think that because I took a step like that, I was able to expand my options, and I found another surgeon at another hospital institution who was willing to operate again and try to complete that surgery process. So we did that, and then I had a long period of stability, basically, wherein I didn't have to do any chemotherapy. And I was able to travel and do things. I was actually in Australia at the time, and I came over here to the States, and I actually sought a couple of second opinions and met with some doctors in California. I can only speak highly of my treatment in California. I believe that some of the best researchers and doctors are located on the West Coast of the U.S.
I always feel happy to be here.
No, there really are. There's some very exciting stuff going on. And because I am a journalist by trade, I've been researching a lot and conducting my own projects and interviews and all that kind of thing. So I have found out a lot about it. I also have a background as a nurse many years ago.
Wow.
So I've been able to use all of my background to kind of push forward my treatment experience. And I started a website which is a patient forum, and it's called colonchat.net, and we explore new treatments, and we have a very upbeat approach. We encourage any sort of level of science research, new findings, people of any involvement with the disease to come on our site and to contribute. So that's been really interesting, and I think that through that we're keeping track of a lot of what's going on. So it's just useful for keeping, there's an enormous amount of research going on, so we're keeping that in one place on the website. People can always go search and look up when they need to.
That's huge.
I've been involved in social network and in patient communities, and I've done patient advocacy here, trips to DC, that sort of thing, where we go to congressmen and try to get them to lobby for money to be, or budgetary allowances for our scanning and prevention, issues like that. And that's been through Colontown, which is a social network group set up by Erica Brown, and in
Chris for Life.
With Chris for Life, which is Michael Sapienza's foundation, set up in his mother's memory. So that's just a little bite of the things that I've done. In my own treatment, I'm still undergoing treatment. I'm at USC under the brilliant Dr. Heinz Lenz. And
we love you, Dr. Lenz.
We have a interesting patient-doctor relationship.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, we have our moments, but
he's a feisty one. He said I was a feisty one. I'm like, you're a feisty one.
He is. He can be feisty is a good word. We basically have managed to cooperate. We have a brilliant relationship. So I also was introduced to some of his brilliant patients who are also raising money for him. The late Gloria Borges, who started the Wonder Glow Foundation, and Nancy Bernstein, who's doing amazing work for him. Various people. He has managed to inspire his patients and their families to raise a lot of money. I believe that the work that his team is doing is non-pareil in terms of there is nothing like it in the world. I'm very excited to be here in LA, to be even a part of that. So I'm doing very well, obviously, in my treatment. I'm unusual. I have just a very lucky experience in terms of having such advanced disease that I haven't had much illness with it or symptoms. Wow. It's just incredible. Wow. I am doing chemotherapy. I do every couple of weeks. Dr. Lenz is an expert with chemotherapy, very strategic, and he makes it somehow doable compared to chemo that I've done before. Right. So I could definitely comment on that, yeah.
Well, you and I were talking earlier, and you said that you have some unconventional ideas. Those I want to hear. Please share.
Oh, there are so many.
Top 3.
I guess a couple of things have come up lately as being topical. I think that other opinion makers have commented on whether or not we're warriors and whether or not we live with a chronic disease. And these are all issues that I think there's a lot of thought and debate going on at the moment. And I think in colorectal cancer, amongst the doctors that are doing a lot of research, they're trying to push forward and find new approaches. Patients are becoming more active, and they're demanding answers. Yeah. And I think the two groups are, evolving. And so one of my ideas is that I'm not a warrior. I don't feel like I have to fight. Although obviously I do fight, and people have said, you're quite feisty.
You're Irish, right?
I am Irish, and we got that in us, yeah.
And you got some luck, too.
Exactly, and Alison's Irish, too, by the way.
Half Irish, half Italian, so I'm feisty and lucky.
We both figured that out. It's just that it's not always about fighting sort of all the time, and I think we have to have a dose of reality and realize that we need to keep things in perspective so that when things don't go well, we're prepared. So that's one of my approaches.
Oh, she's going to the dark side now. That's the dark side.
It is. I think it is, but I think it's better than being led down a garden path, and just sort of suddenly hitting a wall and saying, oh, I had no preparation, or, or it's my fault. And I think people have to, and their doctors have to work together with a realistic sort of approach so that they can manage the ups and downs, that this really is a lot of ups and downs.
But you do hear about people that were diagnosed only 1 or 2 years, and then it's like 15 years later. You do hear those stories. Yeah. So, I understand that you have to be realistic, but that's how I like to think, because I think the mind is so powerful in your healing process.
I think that's true. I think that mind over matter really prevails a lot of the time. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's that mental attitude and the mental focus. Yeah. And I have days that I declare that I'm not going to think about this. Yeah. And I literally can switch it off for a whole couple of days because I know that I have to do that. And I've been doing that the whole time. So I'll just say, okay, I'm not thinking about this for a couple of days.
That's great. Oh,
and
that's
it works. It's my approach.
It's hard to do, but
it's hard, but it's necessity as well. You can't go around thinking about this constantly or you go crazy.
Well, another point is submitting, because in the beginning I was like, like this. And then at one point when I was so exhausted, I just went, my friend said to me, Allison, you've got to embrace the chemo. And I just went, you're right, I do. And I submitted, and it got much better after that. Because I was like I was so uptight that it was working against me.
Yes, so I know what you're talking about. I know that that attitude, if you have resistance to treatment, it's not going to work on you.
You've got to submit. You got to submit.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us your site again.
My site,
Your website.
I formed it with Leah Allison Rovers.